So just to clarify, so what you're doing here is this is a variable you can reuse that has basically three bytes available. So you can write up to 3 bytes to this. Uh, and even though you can write up to 3 bytes, you can actually, or sorry, you can read up to 3 bytes. So you can put up to three characters into here. You can, however, change it when you output it. So when you write it, let's say if you put this ABC in there, you can actually output only 2 bytes, right? And you'll only output AB. So you can also output 1 byte A. Okay, so that's just clarifying that. So for the new line now, what we want to do is we want 2 bytes. So let me just show you again what the new byte is exactly. So if we open this little guy up, so when you hit the enter key, so here is just like everything, right? So when you type a number, when you type a symbol, when you type capital, lowercase, they all have their specific ASCII, just ASCII thing related to this ASCII table. So when you're typing 0, you're not actually sending 0. You're actually sending in decimal 48, right? Etc. with all these. A is actually 65. So when you hit the enter key, you're actually sending in some of these values here, and those again being the line feed here. So the first one is the line feed, which is 10 decimal or 0A for hex. And then you send in a second byte, which is this carriage return or carriage feed here being decimal 13. So when you hit the enter key, you're sending in 2 bytes. You're sending in 2 characters here, 2 values. It's going to be first send in 10, and then it's going to send in 13 in that order, specifically in that order, anytime you hit the enter key. So here, this enter key, this new line, right? So you have A, B, C, that's one. Then you have the space, right? So you have 4 bytes. And then you have this new line. Just that new line in general, it equates exactly to that enter key, which equates exactly to those 2 bytes of sending in the value 10 and then sending in the value 13. So I will say the way he showed you guys with just using the 1 byte with the new line, from my experience and what I know, I will say that is wrong. Do not do that because that's just not how it works. That, it may seem like it work in the compile, like when you compile it and stuff, but that is not how it actually works. Especially with assembly, you need to take care of everything. You cannot just leave stuff out because you'll have, at some point in time, you'll have some unmanaged like errors, and you'll have some, you'll get confused on some weird error. Okay, so to go to an example now, so here is the 2 ways you can handle it. So you can either, just 2 different examples with this is you can either have, again, a variable here which can read in those 2 bytes, so it'll take in the 10 and then it'll take in the 13 if you set it up correctly. Here's the input. So you can have one variable that can take in both, as we do here. And then the other way, which I'll show just in a sec, is going to be you can have 2 different bytes, one specifically for the line feed and then one specifically for the carriage return. And I think that the way he was showing you with the 1 byte is he was using this, right, with 10, right, db10. So again, looking at this ASCII chart, that 10 literally relates to this line feed character. So, looking at this example, also here, let me finish with this actually. So, just to clarify, so here you do this right. You read the string. The string is 3 lengths, but then you read the string again. So what you're actually doing is, one, you're overwriting string. Oh no, you're printing here. Sorry, my bad. Okay, never mind. Scratch that. So, So okay, you read this correctly, and then you are trying to print directly after. Okay, and then you should be reading the next 2. But again, you just small error. You put an extra space there. So what you're actually doing is you're reading in the space as 1 character, and then you're only reading in the 10, right? So since the enter key is 2, you read the space as 1, and then you're reading the 10. So that 13 is left somewhere. It's still there. So filler will have the space, and it'll have that 10. It doesn't deal with the new line correctly here. And then here, when you read the second string, you're reading 3 bytes, so it's going to take that leftover. It's going to take that leftover 13, so it'll read the 13, and then it's going to read these 2, which will be 1 and 2. or should be 1 and 2. I should fork. Oh, okay. Okay, so maybe there's just something weird with that. So either way, just in general, whenever you're doing your input, just highlight it or something. Oh, it is there somehow. What? Okay, because if we look here, right, when I highlight my input, oh, there's a space. What? Okay. Anyway, don't. Okay, I guess don't trust that. Just use your arrow keys and go back and forth. There's absolutely no space there. And then same thing here. So yeah. It should. So let's try something. So another thing I would suggest. How do I move this thing? This can't. Another thing I would suggest is to read all the input first and then print. So I know you're trying to use only one variable, but I would. Okay. I guess I can't do that. Okay. So I would actually just make another. I'd use 2 variables. Just because the way you guys are doing it, honestly, I would do this project completely different than the way you guys are doing assembly, but you guys are still just learning, so this is just a good learning thing. So actually, I would save all this, and I would print it at the end. And we'll make this guy 2, reach second string, so we have 2, 2, 2. Okay. So we should read the first string with 3 bytes, that's good. The filler, that should take in, hopefully that thing, hopefully the new line. And then we should read the second string of 1, 2, 3. And I'm just gonna do that. Let's see what happens when we run it. Oh, oops, I forgot to change that. Oops. Oh, okay, so that's also, I think, what you're missing then. So now we've read everything correctly, so now we want to print the first string first, ABC, and then we want to print a new line. So we're going to do this to print. And yeah, so that should work. We should get ABC, the new line, and then 1, 2, 3, and we should print that all correctly. And there we go. So that works perfect. So, okay, there's that. So let me go back to my examples now to just go in more in depth with what you guys were trying to do with the names and the addresses and stuff. So, okay, so here I have, for this example, I use the new line here. So the new line is a similar thing to the filler thing where you have 2 bytes. So there's 2 bytes reserved here for that. So here's my input. I'll have 2 numbers. I have a space I need to skip, and then I have just 2 letters just to for simplicity. Don't have any spaces. I'm good there. So I have that new line. So that's what I do first. Take in the 2 for 1, 2, skip the space, read in ST, and then new line. So now I use my new line that I have. It's 2 bytes, so that should take care of the 10 and the 13 for the actual new line. And all this is commented out. And then I'll take in the city, which is 2 bytes again. And then now I don't want the comma, so I'm going to just skip that. I'll just read it into this variable, and then I'll read the space again, and that will just take care of that. So now I take there as 2. So now I'm on the next 2 bytes, so I take in the state of 2 bytes, and then another space, and then the zip code of 2 bytes. And that's that. And so now, I mean, I can run it again. And when I run this, it works exactly as I need. So I read everything in first to get all the input, and then I just output exactly how I want it. So I put your street number is, this is the street number of 1, 2, new line. So because I've read new line into new line, it's a variable. It holds that 10 and it holds that 13. So this guy, new line, holds that 10, holds that 13. And then I just continue. So that's reading everything. And then here, so your street name. So I display your street name is colon, the street name of ST, again, another new line, right? And then I just continue on. So your city, new line, your state, the state, new line, your zip, zip. And then that's the end, right? I don't need a new line because that's the end of the program. Okay, so that's the one way, using reserved bytes in the BSX section. Now here is my second example, where I use the two different things, one to handle the line feed character being 10, and then one to handle the carriage return of 13. So now going through here, I do a similar setup. I read this, but now for the new line, right? So after the street name is going to be my new line. Again, I don't have any spaces here, so it's just a new line. Oh wait, I think it's this one, sorry. I have so many of these open. What did I do? Oh, okay, so that's the thing. So these guys are constants. So if you're going to do it this way, it's going to be different than using the reserved bytes. These are not variables, these are constants. So I can't read into them. So the only thing I do with these is output them. So this would be good for outputting a new line. I'll have these two characters for that. So what I do here is I already have a variable that can skip the one space, or skip basically one input. So what I do is I get the street number, I have 1, 2. I read the space. I read the street name of ST, and then now I need to skip the new line because I don't have a variable, I have just the constants. So I skip 1, that's going to skip the 10. So this guy is going to skip the 10, and then this guy down here is going to skip the 13. So I need 2 blocks, right? Because I just use this variable for 1. So I input the 1 character into there, that's the 10. I input the second character of 13 into there. And that's just garbage now. Or not like garbage, but I don't need it, right? Since I'm using the constants, this is just to handle the input way. So this is just for the input. And then I'll continue on for the same thing. So for the city, do the same thing. And then now I'm going to do the comma and the space there, and blah, blah, blah. And there's no more new lines to read. But now for the output's going to be different, right? I'm going to have, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 new lines, or 5 new lines, whatever. So I'll output my string, your street number is colon, the street number of 1, 2, and now I want to do the new line. So I have my line feed, and I have my carriage return. So now I output first the line feed, specifically in this order, line feed, right, which equates to 10. And then I output the carriage return, which equates to 13. And so now this whole thing handles that new line, those 2 characters. And that is what I do for the rest of this. So get the street output street name is the street name of ST. Again, another 2 things for the whole new line, being the line feed, then the carriage return. And then I continue on, line feed, carriage return, new line. Get it again, line feed, carriage return, new line. Right? And so that's that. Yeah, so there's 2 ways. You can have a variable, and then the variable can input that 10 and 13, so the variable itself will hold the 10 and the 13. Or you can use the constants here, so you can make constants for each of one of those, the one holding the 10 like he showed you, but you will need the 13. Do not do what he says when he only uses the 10. That is, I will say that is wrong. And then you don't input into here. This is specifically for output because these are constants. You cannot read into constants. So those are the 2 ways. You can create a variable, which can be used for both input. You can read the new line to this, and then it'll be in there, and then you can also write this new line. Or you can have these constants, which will only be for writing. So if you're reading stuff, you will have to kind of skip over whatever those bytes are. Again, the new line being 2 bytes. So you'll have to skip over the 2 bytes for input, and then for output, you can use these 2 guys for the 10 and the 13 to output the new line. and both of these they have the same input, they have the same output. It's just within the code, they work slightly differently. They handle the input slightly differently, and they handle the output slightly differently. But the input is the same, and the output is the same. All right. You think that makes sense? Any other questions on this? Okay. Was that clear enough then? Like, do you think you understand? Okay. Awesome. Awesome. Yeah, no problem. I have this recorded, so I'm gonna send this to other people, and I hope this clears it up because, yes, basically stick to these two, and if you again need to refer, I'll have the video and I'll send it to you. So.